A biker gang leader walked into a small-town diner and noticed something everyone else had ignored for months: bruises on the waitress's arm. What he did next didn't just save her life, it exposed a town's darkest secrets. But no one imagined what would come next. Marcus Reaper Stone had been president of the Iron Knights Motorcycle Club for 8 years, leading 40 members across Montana with a reputation that made other clubs think twice. At 42, with a scar running from his left eye to his jawline and arms covered in tattoos, Reaper looked exactly like what most people feared: a dangerous man who lived outside the law. What most people didn't know was that the Iron Knights operated by a strict code: protect the vulnerable, respect women and children, never start fights but always finish them. They weren't saints, but they had honor. And to Reaper, honor meant everything. On a cold Tuesday morning in October, Reaper rode solo through Hollow Creek, Montana, a town of 8,000 nestled in the mountains. He pulled into Sally's Diner, a roadside establishment that had been serving truckers for 30 years. He needed coffee before continuing to the northern clubhouse. The bell chimed as Reaper entered. The diner was classic Americana: red vinyl booths, checkered floor, country music, the smell of bacon and coffee. A handful of customers occupied booths: truckers, an elderly couple, a construction crew. "Sit anywhere you like," a voice called from behind the counter. Reaper turned and saw her, a young woman, maybe late 20s, with dark hair pulled into a ponytail and tired eyes that tried to smile but didn't quite succeed. She wore the standard waitress uniform: black pants, white shirt, apron. Reaper took a seat at the counter. The waitress approached with a coffee pot and menu. "Coffee? Please," Reaper said, studying her face. She had pretty features, but something haunted in her expression. She poured his coffee with practiced efficiency, but as she reached across the counter, her sleeve rode up slightly. Reaper's eyes caught it immediately: dark purple bruises circling her wrist like a bracelet. Finger-shaped bruises. The kind that came from someone grabbing too hard, restraining, hurting. The waitress noticed his gaze and quickly pulled her sleeve down, face flushing. "I'll give you a minute to look at the menu," she said hastily, retreating. Reaper felt something cold settle in his chest. He'd seen bruises like that before. On his younger sister, Elena, 15 years ago when she'd been trapped in an abusive relationship. Elena had hidden the bruises the same way. By the time Reaper had figured out what was happening, she'd already endured 2 years of hell. He glanced around. The other customers were eating, chatting, oblivious. They'd probably seen this waitress dozens of times, never once noticing the signs of abuse literally written on her skin. Or maybe they had noticed and just didn't care. Reaper's jaw tightened. The code was clear: protect the vulnerable. This woman, he glanced at her name tag, Samantha, was vulnerable, and nobody was protecting her. The waitress returned. "Ready to order?" "Just the coffee's fine," Reaper said, keeping his voice gentle. "What's your name, besides what the name tag says?" She looked wary. "Samantha. Most people call me Sam." "Sam, I'm Marcus, but people call me Reaper." He saw her flinch slightly at the name and the Iron Knight's patch on his vest. "I know I look intimidating, but I need to ask you something. Are you safe?" Sam's eyes widened. What do you mean?" "Those bruises on your wrist," Reaper said quietly. "I've seen bruises like that before. Someone's hurting you. Are you safe?" Sam's face went through several expressions: shock, fear, shame, resignation. "I'm fine," she said, the lie obvious. "I just bruise easily. Clumsy. Sam, I'm not a cop. I'm not going to make a report unless you want me to. But I know what abuse looks like. My sister went through it. And I know that clumsy is what every woman says when someone's hurting her." Sam's eyes filled with tears. She looked around frantically. "Please don't," she whispered. "Please just drop it. You don't understand. Then help me understand. I have a 4-year-old son. His father. My boyfriend Derek. She stopped. If he finds out I talk to anyone, it'll be worse. So please just forget you saw anything." Reaper felt familiar rage building. The same rage he'd felt discovering what Elena's boyfriend had done, but he kept his voice calm. "Where's Derek now?" "Working. He's a foreman at the construction site outside town. He'll be back tonight." Sam wiped her eyes as another customer approached for a refill. She painted on a smile, served them, then returned. "Sam, does he hurt your son?" "No, never Lucas, just me. And only when he's been drinking," which meant frequently. "When does your shift end?" 3 p.m. "Why?" "Because you're not going back to him tonight, and you're not going back ever. I'm going to help you." Sam laughed bitterly. "Help me? You don't even know me." Why would you help me? Because 15 years ago, nobody helped my sister when she needed it. By the time I figured out what was happening, she'd been beaten so badly she ended up in the hospital. I swore I'd never let that happen to someone else if I could prevent it, so I'm helping you. That's it. That's the reason. Sam stared at Reaper like he'd spoken a foreign language. I can't just leave. Derek will find me. He always finds me. I've tried leaving before. How many times? Twice. Once I went to my sister's in Idaho. He showed up 3 days later, convinced me to come back. The second time I went to a women's shelter. He found me there too. Reaper pulled out his phone. Here's what's going to happen. I'm calling my club. We're going to make sure you and your son are safe. We're going to move you somewhere Derek can't find you. And we're going to make sure he can't hurt you again. Your club? Sam looked terrified. You mean the motorcycle gang? We prefer club, but yeah. The Iron Knights. 40 members who live by a code that says we protect people who need protecting. You need protecting. That makes you our business now. I don't want anyone to get hurt. Nobody's going to get hurt. We're not going to beat Derek up. We're going to do this the right way. Legal. Smart. But effective. Sam was shaking. I don't know. Sam, look at me. Reaper waited until she met his eyes. I'm giving you a choice. You can go back to Derek tonight, and this cycle continues until one day he goes too far. Or you can trust me for the next 24 hours. Just 24 hours, let us help you. If after that you want to go back, that's your choice. But give yourself one day of being safe. Sam was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she whispered, Okay, one day. Reaper made the call. Within 30 minutes, 3 Iron Knights members arrived. Sarah Viper Chen, the club's only female member and a former social worker, Thomas Bear Johnson, the sergeant-at-arms, and Jackson Doc Williams, who'd been a paramedic. They sat in a booth at the back. Viper explained the plan. We're going to get you and Lucas out of your house today while Derek's at work. We'll take everything important. Documents, clothes, anything you can't replace. We have a safe house, an apartment we keep for situations exactly like this. Different town, address known only to club members. You'll stay there while we help you file for a restraining order. He'll violate any restraining order, Sam said. He doesn't care about those, which is why we'll be watching, Bear said gently. Round the clock. If Derek comes near you or Lucas, we'll know, and we'll document it. The police don't care, Sam said bitterly. I've called them twice. Derek talked his way out of it. One of the officers is his drinking buddy. Doc leaned forward. Then we document everything ourselves. Photos of your injuries, hospital records if you have them, statements from witnesses. We build a case so strong that even a small-town police department can't ignore it. At 3:05 p.m., Sam clocked out. Viper drove her to the house she shared with Derek, a small rental on the outskirts. Sam's hands shook as she unlocked the door. Lucas is at daycare. I need to pick him up by 5. We have time, Viper assured her. They worked quickly. Clothes, toiletries, Lucas's toys, important documents. Sam grabbed photo albums. Viper photographed every room, holes punched in walls, broken furniture, evidence of violence. As they packed, Sam showed Viper the bruises hidden under her clothes, on her ribs, her back, her thighs, places Derek knew wouldn't be visible. Viper photographed each one, face expressionless but eyes burning. How long has this been going on? Viper asked. 2 years, since Lucas was 2. Before that, Derek was different. Or maybe I just didn't see the warning signs. After Lucas was born, the drinking got worse. The anger got worse. It's not your fault, Viper said firmly. None of this is your fault. They finished packing and picked up Lucas from daycare, a sweet little boy with dark curls. He was excited about the adventure. The safe house was 40 miles away in a larger town, a modest 2-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, furnished simply but comfortably. Most importantly, unknown to Derek. As they settled Lucas with toys and cartoons, Reaper arrived with supplies, groceries, fresh clothes, prepaid phones. Sam was overwhelmed. Why are you doing all this? She asked. You don't even know me. Reaper sat across from her. I told you about my sister. What I didn't tell you was that after her boyfriend put her in the hospital, I handled it the wrong way. I went after him with violence, nearly killed him, spent 2 years in prison for aggravated assault. When I got out, Elena told me that while she appreciated that I cared, violence just made everything worse. She said what she'd really needed was someone to help her leave safely, to protect her legally, to give her a chance to rebuild. So that's what I learned to do. What happened to your sister? She's good now. Married to a decent guy, 2 kids, happy. but it took her years to heal. I don't want that for you. I want you to get out now, before it gets worse. Sam nodded, tears streaming. Thank you. I don't know how to repay. You don't repay. You heal. You protect your son. You build a new life. That's enough. By evening, Derek had realized Sam wasn't coming home. He called her phone repeatedly, 23 times in 2 hours. Sam sat in the safe house, staring as it rang and rang. Don't answer, Viper advised. Let him panic. Every call, every message, we're documenting it all. Finally, Derek left a voicemail. Viper put it on speaker. Derek's voice was smooth at first. Babe, where are you? I'm worried sick. Just call me. But by the 5th message, the mask slipped. You better answer your phone, Sam. Where the hell are you? You think you can just take off with my kid? I will find you. By the 10th message, it was pure rage, explicit threats, obscenities, promises of violence. Every word was recorded. This is good, Doc said grimly. We need him to show his true nature. The more evidence, the stronger the case. The next morning, Derek showed up at Sally's diner. The owner told him Sam had called in sick. Derek demanded her address from employee files. Sally refused, and Derek became belligerent enough that Sally called police. Officer Mike Patterson responded, Derek's drinking buddy. He talked to Derek for 10 minutes and let him go without filing a report. But Bear was parked across the street, camera ready, documenting the whole interaction. Over the next week, the Iron Knights built their case meticulously. Viper connected Sam with a lawyer who specialized in domestic violence cases, Jennifer Park. Jennifer reviewed the evidence, photographs, medical records, threatening voicemails, witness statements, documentation of police failure. This is solid, Jennifer said. We can get a protection order. The challenge will be getting local police to actually enforce it. That's where we come in, Reaper said. The Iron Knights made their presence known in Hollow Creek. They frequented the diner, the police station, the courthouse, always legal, always respectful, but unmistakably there. A message. We're watching. The town noticed. People started talking. Local news picked up the story. Motorcycle club protects abuse victim after police fail to act. Suddenly, the police department was under scrutiny. 2 weeks after Sam left, the protection order hearing took place. Sam sat in the courtroom, flanked by Viper and Jennifer. The gallery was filled with Iron Knights members, not to intimidate, but to support. Derek showed up confident he'd charm his way out, but this time the evidence was overwhelming. Jennifer presented photographs, played voicemails, called witnesses. The judge, Patricia Howell, looked at Derek with contempt. Mr. Hayes, the evidence against you is damning. I'm granting the protection order. You are to have no contact with Ms. Rodriguez or her son. You are to stay at least 500 feet away. Violation will result in immediate arrest. Derek's face flushed red. This is bullshit. Those bikers put her up to this. Mr. Hayes, control yourself, Judge Howell snapped. This protection order is in effect immediately. Bailiff, escort Mr. Hayes from the courtroom. As Derek was led out, he locked eyes with Reaper. The hatred was visceral. Reaper stared back, unflinching. After the hearing, Sam broke down crying, relief, gratitude, disbelief. Viper held her. It's over. You're free. But Reaper knew better. Men like Derek didn't let go easily. The protection order was just paper. Real protection came from vigilance. That night, Derek violated the order. He showed up at Sally's diner, drunk and furious. Bear and 2 other knights were already there, stationed in the parking lot. They documented Derek's arrival, his intoxication, his violation. They called police. This time, Sheriff Tom Bradford responded. He arrested Derek on the spot. Derek spent the night in jail. When he appeared before Judge Howell the next morning, she was furious. Mr. Hayes, you've demonstrated complete disregard for this court's authority. I'm revoking your bail and remanding you to custody until trial. Derek was led away in handcuffs. For the first time in 2 years, Sam could breathe. The Iron Knights had done what they set out to do, protect someone who needed protecting, expose a broken system, and prove that honor and justice could come from unexpected places. Sam approached Reaper outside the courthouse. I don't know how to thank you. You saved my life. Reaper shook his head. You saved your own life by leaving. We just made sure you could stay gone. As the Iron Knights rode out of Hollow Creek that evening, the town watched with new understanding. These weren't dangerous criminals. They were protectors. They were the ones who'd done what the system couldn't or wouldn't do. Sam stood with Lucas watching them go. For the first time in years, she smiled. A real smile, full of hope. She was free. She was safe. And she was going to build a life where Lucas would never see his mother hurt again. That was the code of honor. That was justice. And that was enough. 3 weeks after Derek's arrest, Sam began rebuilding her life. She'd found a new apartment in the larger town, a small but bright one-bedroom where she and Lucas could start fresh. The Iron Knights helped her move in, assembling furniture and stocking her kitchen. For the first time in years, Sam had a space that felt safe. She'd also found a new job at a family restaurant called Mario's, where the owner, an Italian immigrant named Giuseppe, hired her on the spot after Viper vouched for her. Giuseppe had daughters of his own and understood the importance of giving people second chances. You work hard, you treat customers good, you got a job here as long as you want, Giuseppe told her. And anybody give you trouble, you tell me. Lucas thrived in his new daycare. He made friends quickly, his natural sweetness drawing other children to him. The nightmares he'd been having began to fade. Children were resilient, the therapist Sam had started seeing explained. With stability and safety, Lucas would heal. Sam herself was a work in progress. The physical bruises faded, but the emotional ones ran deeper. She flinched at sudden movements. She struggled with trust. She had panic attacks when she heard motorcycles, until she reminded herself these were the Iron Knights, her protectors, not threats. Reaper checked in weekly, usually stopping by Mario's during Sam's shift for coffee and conversation. These visits became something Sam looked forward to, proof that someone cared, that she wasn't alone. "How's Derek's trial coming?" Sam asked during one of these visits 2 months after his arrest. "His lawyer's trying to make a deal," Reaper said, "but the DA isn't budging. With the protection order violation, the documented threats, and your testimony, they've got him cold. He's looking at 3 to 5 years minimum." Sam felt relief wash over her. 3 to 5 years where she could breathe, heal, build a life without looking over her shoulder. What happens when he gets out? The question that haunted her. "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," Reaper said. "But Sam, by then you'll be stronger. You'll have resources. You'll have people who have your back." The trial began in early December. Sam had dreaded this, facing Derek in court, reliving the abuse. But when the day came, she wasn't alone. Viper sat beside her. Jennifer Park, her lawyer, walked her through every step. And the gallery was filled with Iron Knights members, a silent wall of support. Derek sat at the defense table, thinner than Sam remembered, his face hard with anger. When their eyes met, she felt the familiar fear, but also something new. Strength. He'd controlled her through fear for 2 years, but she wasn't his anymore. Sam's testimony was difficult, but powerful. She spoke clearly, describing the escalating abuse, the isolation tactics, the times he'd hurt her and then apologized. She showed photographs of her injuries. She played the voicemails with his threats. Derek's defense attorney tried to suggest Sam was exaggerating, but Jennifer was prepared. She called witnesses. Sally, who testified about multiple times Sam had come to work with injuries. Dr. Elizabeth Chen, who'd treated Sam at the emergency room. Even Lucas's daycare provider, who testified about the child's behavioral changes consistent with growing up in a violent household. The defense crumbled under the weight of evidence. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Aggravated assault, terroristic threatening, stalking, violation of a protection order. When the verdict was read, Sam felt her knees go weak. Viper caught her arm. "You did it," Viper whispered. "It's really over." At sentencing 2 weeks later, Judge Howell addressed Derek directly. "Mr. Hayes, you systematically abused a woman who trusted you, terrorized her, and used your physical strength to maintain control through fear. This court sentences you to the maximum, 6 years in state prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation." Derek was led away still protesting. Sam watched him go, feeling the final chains break. 6 years. 6 years to build a life so strong that even when he got out, he couldn't touch it. Outside the courthouse, Sam was swarmed by Iron Knights members offering congratulations. Reaper stood back, letting others have their moment, but Sam pushed through to him. "Thank you," she said, "for seeing me, for caring, for not walking away." Reaper pulled her into a careful hug. "You did the hard part. You left. You testified. You stood up for yourself. We just made sure you had backup." "I want to do what you do," Sam said suddenly. "Help other women, the ones suffering in silence like I was. Can I do that?" Reaper smiled. "Yeah, you can, and you should." Over the next year, Sam became an advocate. She volunteered at domestic violence shelters, sharing her story with other survivors. She helped establish a network in Hollow Creek, connecting abuse victims with resources, support groups, and when necessary, the Iron Knights Protection Services. Word spread. Women started coming forward, trusting that someone would listen and act. The Iron Knights found themselves protecting 3 other women in situations similar to Sam's. Each case was handled the same way: documentation, legal action, safe housing, vigilance. Each case was successful. Sally's Diner became an unofficial safe space. Sally trained her staff to recognize signs of abuse and placed discreet cards in the women's bathroom with crisis hotline numbers and the Iron Knights' contact information. "If you need help, someone will help you," the cards read. The Hollow Creek Police Department, embarrassed by their failure in Sam's case and the subsequent media coverage, implemented mandatory training on domestic violence response. Officer Patterson was quietly reassigned. Sheriff Bradford, stung by criticism, became an ally, working with the Iron Knights to coordinate protection for at-risk individuals. Sam's story caught the attention of a documentary filmmaker named Rachel Torres, who wanted to create a film about the Iron Knights' protection work. Reaper was initially reluctant, but Sam convinced him. "People need to know that help exists," Sam argued, "that there are good people who'll step up. Let Rachel tell this story. It might save lives." Reaper agreed, and filming began. The documentary, titled The Code: How a Motorcycle Club Became Protectors, premiered 18 months after Sam's rescue. It featured interviews with Sam, Reaper, Viper, and several other women the club had helped. It examined the failures of law enforcement and social services, and it highlighted how community intervention could save lives. The film won awards at several festivals and was picked up by a streaming service, reaching millions of viewers. Suddenly, the Iron Knights weren't just a regional club, they were known nationally as protectors and advocates. Other motorcycle clubs reached out, asking for guidance on implementing similar programs. Reaper and Viper developed a training curriculum, teaching clubs across the country how to recognize abuse, document evidence, and work with legal systems. "This is bigger than we imagined," Viper told Reaper. "We started by helping Sam. Now we're creating a movement." "Movements are dangerous," Reaper said. "They attract attention. They also save lives. Isn't that what the code is about?" Reaper nodded. "Yeah, it is." But attracting attention brought challenges. Some law enforcement agencies viewed the Iron Knights' protection work as vigilantism. Some abusers, seeing their power challenged, pushed back. One such abuser was Craig Dennison, a wealthy businessman whose wife Maria had sought help from the Iron Knights. The club helped Maria escape and file charges. Craig was arrested, but unlike Derek, he had money and connections. He hired expensive lawyers who got most charges dismissed. Craig was furious about the Iron Knights' involvement. He filed lawsuits against the club, alleging harassment. The suits were frivolous but cost time and money to defend. He hired private investigators to follow club members. He spread rumors that the club was engaged in criminal activity. "He's trying to discredit us," Viper said during a club meeting. "Make people afraid to come to us for help." "It's working," Bear added. 2 women who were going to ask for protection changed their minds. They're still trapped because they're afraid of what happens if they involve us. Reaper felt the familiar anger rising. Men like Craig, wealthy, connected, were the worst kind of abuser. They didn't just hurt their victims, they corrupted entire systems to protect themselves. "We need to handle this carefully," Reaper said. "Craig wants us to retaliate so he can claim we're violent criminals. We stay legal, stay smart, and we expose him the same way we exposed Derek, with documentation and evidence." Sam spoke up. "I know someone who can help. Rachel Torres, the filmmaker. What if we gave her Craig Dennison? Expose what he's doing, how he's using his wealth to evade consequences." Rachel jumped at the opportunity. She spent 3 months investigating Craig's pattern of abuse, interviewing not just Maria but 3 previous partners who'd also been victims. She documented the protection order violations that went unprosecuted. She traced the financial connections between Craig and local officials. The documentary aired 6 months later. When Money Buys Silence: How One Man's Wealth Enabled Years of Abuse. The response was immediate. State investigators opened inquiries into the Helena Police Department and prosecutor's office. Craig's business partners distanced themselves. His political connections evaporated. And Maria, emboldened by the exposure, filed a civil lawsuit against Craig. With the documentary's evidence and the Iron Knights' support, she won a substantial settlement. Craig Dennison's empire crumbled, his reputation destroyed. He faced consequences that his money couldn't buy away. And the message was clear: Wealth and power don't protect abusers when communities refuse to look away. 3 years after Reaper first noticed bruises on Sam's wrist, he stood at a community center in Hollow Creek, looking at what their intervention had created. The center, funded by donations and staffed by volunteers, served as a hub for domestic violence services, support groups, legal clinics, counseling, emergency housing coordination. Sam ran the center as executive director, using her own experience to guide others. She'd completed certification as a domestic violence advocate and was pursuing a social work degree online. Lucas, now 7, was a thriving second grader who volunteered at the center's after-school program. "Never thought we'd end up here," Viper said, standing beside Reaper as they watched Sam address a room full of survivors. "Started with one woman. Now we've helped 43 across Montana, trained 17 other clubs nationwide, changed laws in 3 states. Changed ourselves too," Reaper admitted. "Used to think the code just meant we'd step in if we saw trouble. Now I understand it means building systems so trouble doesn't happen in the first place." The Iron Knights' reputation had transformed. They were still a motorcycle club, but they were also known as protectors and advocates. Police departments that once viewed them as criminals now partnered with them. Social service agencies referred clients to them. The mayor of Hollow Creek had given them a community service award. "Think Derek knows what Sam's accomplished?" Viper asked. "Probably sees it on the news in prison," Reaper said. "Must kill him that the woman he tried to destroy is now the face of a movement." Derek still had 3 years remaining on his sentence. When he got out, he'd face strict probation and GPS monitoring. He'd lost his power. All he had left was the knowledge that Sam had not just survived him, she'd thrived despite him. Sam finished her presentation and approached them. "Good turnout tonight. 8 new women came. One brought her teenage daughter who's being abused by a boyfriend. We're helping them both." "You're doing good work," Reaper said. "We're doing good work," Sam corrected. "This only exists because you cared enough to act that day at the diner." A young woman approached, maybe 22, nervous with bruises partially covered by makeup. "Excuse me, are you Sam, the one from the documentary?" "I am," Sam said gently. "What's your name?" "Jessica. I need help. My boyfriend, I don't know what to do." Sam took Jessica's hands carefully. "You already did the hardest thing. You asked for help. Everything else we'll figure out together. You're safe now. We've got you." Reaper watched as Sam led Jessica to a private office, Viper following. This was the work now. One person at a time. One life saved. One cycle broken. His phone buzzed. A text from Elena, his sister. "Saw your interview on the news. So proud of you, Marcus. You're doing the work I needed someone to do for me all those years ago. Love you." Reaper smiled. This was redemption, not for the violence he'd committed in his youth, but for the protection he'd failed to provide when it mattered most. He couldn't go back and save Elena from her abuser, but he could save Jessica, and the next woman, and the one after that. The documentary had included a segment on the Iron Knights code. "We ride together. We fight together. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. This is our code. This is who we are." Those words had evolved from clubhouse rhetoric into a mission statement. The Iron Knights had grown from a rough collection of veterans into an organization that provided real, tangible help to people society had failed. The Iron Knights Protection Program had formal structure now. They'd partnered with legal aid societies, domestic violence organizations, and reformed police departments. They'd created a fund to pay for victims' housing, legal fees, and therapy. What had started as Reaper's impulsive decision had become a sustainable, replicable model. Other clubs across the country were implementing similar programs. The Code of Honor network now included 23 motorcycle clubs committed to protection work. They shared resources, training, and best practices. Sam emerged from the office with Jessica, who looked relieved despite her tears. Another life being saved. Another woman finding her way out of darkness. As Reaper prepared to leave, Sam caught up with him. "Reaper, wait." He turned. Sam was smiling, the genuine full smile that had taken months to return. "I just wanted to say thank you, again. You changed my life. You gave me and Lucas a future. And now we're changing other lives." Reaper pulled her into a brief hug. "You changed your own life, Sam. You had the courage to leave. All we did was make sure you could stay gone. You did more than that. You showed me what real strength looks like, what honor means. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be that for other people." "You already are," Reaper said. "Every day, every person you help. You're living the code now, too." As Reaper rode out of Hollow Creek that night, He reflected on how far they'd all come. A town transformed, a club evolved, a woman saved and empowered, a code honored not just with words but with action. 3 years ago, he'd walked into a diner for coffee. He'd noticed what dozens of others had missed. He'd asked a simple question, "Are you safe?" And from that moment, everything had changed. That was the power of seeing people, of caring, of choosing to act when doing nothing would be easier. One person noticing could save a life. One club committed to protection could change a community. One code of honor lived authentically could inspire a movement. The road stretched ahead, dark and endless, but Reaper rode it knowing that somewhere behind him, Sam and Lucas were safe. Jessica would soon be safe, and tomorrow when another person needed help, the Iron Knights would be there, ready to protect, ready to serve, ready to live up to the code. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear leather and ride motorcycles. Some have scars and tattoos and reputations that scare people. But when it matters most, when someone is suffering in silence, those unlikely heroes step up. They do what's right. They honor the code. And that makes all the difference. The end.